The 31st reading of the Torah is called Emor. The title comes from the verse in the reading which says, "Then Elohim said to Moshe, Speak Emor to the priests, the sons of Aaron." Leviticus 21:1. Emor begins with the special laws of sanctity, propriety, and purity of the priesthood. Leviticus 23 then provides an overview of the biblical calendar, a listing of the Lord's appointed times. Let's begin. Elohim said to Moshe, Speak to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron. Tell them no Kohan is to make himself unclean for any of his people who dies, except for his close relatives, his mother, father, son, daughter, and brother. He may make himself unclean for his virgin sister, who has never married, and therefore dependent on him. He may not make himself unclean, because he is a leader among the people. Doing so would profane him. Kohanim, or priests, are not to make bald spots on their heads, mar the edges of their beards, or cut gnashes in their flesh. Rather, they are to be holy to Elohim, and not to profane the name of their Elohim. For they are the ones who present Elohim with offerings made of fire, and the bread to their Elohim. Therefore they must be holy. This needs little explanation. Those who presented themselves as priests, those who were Kohanim, they could marry, but they were always to stay holy. They are not to go along with the customs of the world. They are not to be mainstream. They are to be set apart in their ways because they are presenting themselves to Elohim, who is holy. They are not to go along with the things to stay in vogue. They are to present themselves to Elohim continuously and be representatives of the people and be representatives to Elohim as continuously holy. Verse 7 reads, A Kohen may not marry a woman who is a prostitute, who has been profane, or who has been divorced, because he is holy for his Elohim. Rather, you are to set him apart as holy, because he offers the bread to your Elohim. He is to be holy for you, because I, Elohim, who makes you holy, am holy. Here's where it gets interesting. A priest may marry, but he is not to marry a prostitute. Makes sense? Or marry someone who's been divorced. Interesting, because he is holy. Do we still hold true to this today? A true priest cannot marry one who is not holy. And it's interesting you are not to marry one who is profane. The word here is used as profane, but in the Hebrew it's a bit different. The Hebrew word for profane is waha laha, which literally means drilled. It means to have a sword run through. This could mean numerous things to numerous people. How would you interpret it? The full meaning of the word, if you look at it specifically, is to pollute oneself, ritually or sexually, to pierce, to wound. Another meaning is one who plays the flute. What do you think it means? What word did they put in there? Why did they use the word profane and not another word? Comment below. Verse 16 reads, Elohim said to Moshe, Tell Aaron, none of your descendants who has a defect may approach to offer the bread to his Elohim. No one with defect may approach. No one who is blind, lame, with a mutilated face or a limb, a broken foot or a broken arm, a hunchback, stunted growth, a cataract in his eye, festering or running sores, or damaged testicles. No one descended from Aaron, the Kohen, who has such a defect, may approach to present the offering to Elohim made by fire. He has a defect and is not to approach to offer the bread to his Elohim. He may eat the bread of his Elohim, both the especially holy and the holy. Only he is not to go into the curtain or approach the altar, because he has a defect, so that he will not profane my holy place. I am Elohim, who makes them holy. Let's look at this in the Hebrew. The Hebrew says, speak to Aharon saying, a man from your seed to their generation, who will exist in him a blemish. He will not come near to bring near the bread of his Elohim. Given that every man who is in him is a blemish, he will not come near a blind man, or a lame, or a perforated one, or one being superfluous, or a man who exists in him, a shattering of the foot, or a shattering of the hand, or a hunchback, or a scrawny, or a cataract in his eye, or an irritation, or a skin sore, or a crumbled testicle. Every man which is in him is a blemish from the seed of Aharon, the administrator, who will not draw near or bring near the fire offering of Elohim. A blemish is in him. He will not draw near to bring near the bread of his Elohim. If we look at this specifically, we learn that though Yahweh is presented in this passage, there is no Yahweh in the original scripture at all. But the word superfluous is here. You may not present yourself to Elohim if you are arrogant. Arrogance is not acceptable before Elohim. The priest must be humble. To be humble is another attribute of being holy. Chapter 22 begins, Elohim said to Moshe, tell Aharon and his sons to separate themselves from the holy things of the people of Israel, which they set apart as holy for me, so that they will not profane my name. I am Elohim. Tell them, any descendant of yours, through all your generations, who approaches the holy things, that the people of Israel consecrate to Elohim, and is unclean will be cut off before me. I am Elohim. The priests must be separate, set apart to serve Elohim and the people. They were caretakers of the community. They were the children of Israel. They were the leaders of the tribes, and they were to be holy. Their relatives were to be holy. This was a calling directly from Elohim. Verse 31 says, you are to keep my mitzvot and obey them. I am Elohim. You are not to profane my name. On the contrary, I am to be regarded as holy among the people of Israel. I am Elohim, who makes you holy, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I am Elohim. Keep my commandments, and do not profane, or pierce, or obstruct, or dilute my name. Forever the name of Elohim is holy. And chapter 23 reads, Elohim said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel the designated times of Elohim, which you are to proclaim as holy convocations, are to be designated times. Work is to be done on 6 days, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of complete rest, a holy convocation. You are not to do any kind of work, for it is a Shabbat of Elohim, even for your homes. These are the designated times of Elohim, the holy convocations you are to proclaim at their designated times. The first month, on the 14th day of the month, between sundown and complete darkness, comes Pesach. On the 15th day of the same month is a feast of matzah. For 7 days you are to eat matzah. On the first day, you are to have a holy convocation. Don't do any kind of ordinary work. Bring an offering made of fire to Elohim for 7 days. On the 7th day is a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of work. This says there is more than the 7th day Sabbath. There are more days that we are to take and focus on as holy, set aside as a remembrance of what Elohim has done for you, as a remembrance of what He's doing for you. We have to set aside Pesach. We have to set aside Passover. The Hebrew reads, in the first new moon of the 14th of the new moon, between the evening, is the Pesach of Elohim. On the 15th day of this new moon is the feast of unleavened bread for Elohim. 7 days you will eat unleavened bread. You are to keep the Sabbath holy. You must also keep other days holy. There are other days that are Sabbaths. It's biblical. Are you keeping these days holy? Think about it. Comment below. We'll discuss it.